This is the first film footage I ever took. It was shot on 8mm in 1958, and it documents the time I hitchhiked from what was then Salisbury in southern Rhodesia to Dar es Salaam in what was then Tanganyika, a distance of around 1,000 miles. From Dar I went by sea to Zanzibar and on to Mombasa in Kenya. I only started taking film in Mbeya in southern Tanganyika. I don't remember why. Maybe I bought the camera there. The scenery in Rhodesia had been seemingly endless miles of rolling hills covered with Mopani forest, but it opens up and becomes more mountainous the moment you cross the border. Here is the East African Railways and Harbours Mbeya Hotel. I was lucky to get one ride all the way from Kapiri Mposhi in northern Rhodesia to Dar es Salaam. This is the Peugeot I travelled in for so many miles. These are jacaranda trees lining the road. This old film does not do justice to their beautiful blue blossoms. The road north from Mbeya through Iringa and on to Morogoro has many twists and turns. This is the only shot I have of Morogoro, nestling in the shadow of the high mountains. I can still vividly remember the entry into Dar es Salaam with extensive coconut plantations on both sides of the road. I was excited by the coast. I felt embraced by the balmy air and the trade winds sighing through the casuarinas and rattling the palm fronds. Dar es Salaam, whose name means Haven of Peace, was capital of Tanganyika, which was a German colony until 1919, when it was awarded to Britain under the Treaty of Versailles, following World War I. The Arab influence is clearly evident along the coast. I was entranced by the wonderful tropical blossoms, most of which I had never seen before. The bougainvillea was almost blinding in the intensity of its colour, as were other tropical flowers, including flame trees, which were the first I had ever seen. This is St. Joseph's Cathedral, built in 1900. Its architecture clearly shows the German influence. This unsurfaced street is typical of those on the outskirts of town, where a busy market bustles with activity. It is hard to tell from this picture, but I am pretty sure that this is the fish market. people of the coast reflect its checkered history, from their physical appearance to the way they dress. Many wear the sarong-like garment known locally as a kikoi. Dar es Salaam has the sea on one side and the harbour on the other. Arab dhows like this one are a common sight with their graceful lateen sails. This simple rig is not easy to handle when turning the vessel through the wind. These are fishing boats returning to harbour. The smaller ones have outriggers for stability. The catch is offloaded on the beach and deals are conducted on the spot. The fish are transported in a basket carried on the head. Or maybe in a kikapu, which is the Swahili word for a basket woven from palm fronds. A few Western-style boats share these waters. And here is a coaster approaching the narrow harbour entrance. In those days, flying had not yet taken over from travel by ship, and Union Castle and other shipping lines took passengers from Africa to Europe on a regular service. It was from these routes and those to the Far East that the word posh originated. It stands for Port Out, Starboard Home, meaning that you should always try to get a cabin on the northern side of the ship, which was cooler in the days before air conditioning. To judge from the people waving, she is probably on her way north with people going on 6 months' leave. All larger ships were escorted by this rather handsome tug. Here a colourful sea urchin is an example of interesting sea life. The commercial dock provides a vital trade link with the rest of the world. There were 3 berths as I remember. This was long before containers, of course, and bales of sisal are here being loaded. Most shipping still sailed under national flags rather than flags of convenience. This is a ship from the Clan Line fleet, which has long since gone out of business. The Thor's Hope, registered in Sandefjord, flies the Norwegian flag. These crates are labelled Thames Trader, another company that no longer exists. A small railway moves cargo around the docks. I left Dar es Salaam by ship, heading out through the narrow harbour entrance, and sailed up the coast to the island of Zanzibar. And here we are, off the coast of Zanzibar, famous for its spices, whose fragrance assails the nostrils long before the ship reaches port. Here is the Sultan's Palace, which the British Navy shelled from a warship in August 1896, when, following the death of the reigning Sultan, the position was taken over by a usurper who refused to vacate the palace when ordered to do so. The bombardment lasted 45 minutes and was later dubbed the shortest war in history. The old section of Zanzibar is called Stone Town and is now a World Heritage Site. The town is famous for its wonderfully carved doors. Here is a typically narrow street in Stone Town. Rickshaws await customers. This is the Anglican Cathedral built on the site of the old slave market. It has a window dedicated to Dr. Livingstone, who was instrumental in abolishing slavery in 1897. Slavery started 200 years earlier, in 1698, after the Portuguese, who had administered the island since 1505, were expelled by the Sultan of Oman, who introduced slavery to provide slaves for the Persian Gulf. Coconuts in the form of copra are another important export. I have always found port areas to be especially fascinating. These Arab dhows have sailed from the Persian Gulf on the northeast monsoon and will return there a few weeks later on the wings of the southeast monsoon. Unloading is handled in the traditional way, which can develop impressive muscles. We are now in Mombasa, which is an island and has two harbours, the old one to the north and this, the main port, to the south. This is a Lloyd Trestino liner carrying passengers to and from Europe, with another Union Castle ship docked behind it. This is Kilindini Road, since renamed Moy Avenue, with its landmark cross tusks. The town is a cosmopolitan mix of Africans, Arabs, Indians and Europeans, reflecting its colourful history. These are the twin towers from the Anglican Cathedral, and here is the spire from the Hindu temple. This is Fort Jesus, built by the Portuguese in 1593, which guards the entrance to the old port. Control of the fort changed hands 9 times between 1631 and 1875. A small fishing dhow enters the old port with a coral reef in the background. The beach is on the northern mainland. A floating pontoon bridge links the island to the northern shore. And now we are on the other side of the island, the southern side, and this is Umu. I don't think I ever saw her leave her moorings, but for myself and my friends, she was the subject of many romantic dreams of sailing her to the South Seas. This is the Mombasa Yacht Club with the flame tree and cashew nut tree outside, and this is the other side of the club overlooking the harbour. There is the covered dinghy storage with its makuti roof, made from coconut palm fronds. The local staff manhandle the boats down to the beach in preparation for the afternoon's racing. There looks like there might be a line squall coming up. All the boats are being made ready for the racing to start. These are the 505 dinghies, which were the fastest boats in the club. Ali is preparing the flags for the start of the races. Here is J4, which is the jolly boat I used to sail in. The 505s are manoeuvring before the start of their race. They move fast with the crew on the trapeze. This is looking across to the southern mainland. These are the race flags, and they're off, with the 505s crossing the start line. This rather abrupt ending marks the end of my shooting film for another 14 years.